Hold on, I have a really bad itch. Okay. What's up, folks? I'm Sam. Today we're going to see if it's worth it or not to import a car, and boy oh boy am I excited for this one. Prices on cars have been pretty crazy lately if you haven't seen anything. Anything that's been imported also seems to be especially expensive, with the prices getting absolutely out of hand lately. What in the world is happening? Importing a car is going to be a pretty expensive decision to make, so let's get you educated, and at the end you'll hear my opinion on if it's worth it or not. Before we keep going, I gotta remind you guys, hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, drop a comment down below. Say hi to Edgar. He goes through all these comments and chats with you beautiful people.
Hey yo, what's up?
So why in the world would you want to import a car? This idea is freaking ridiculous to most people. We've got a lot of cars in the United States. There should be at least one that you can choose from and buy here, right? It's just a car. Who cares? Just pick one. Of course, it's more than a car. You know that, I know that, we all know that. It's what the car is about and what it means to you personally. We certainly have some cool cars here in the United States, but there are some absolutely epic cars that we simply didn't get. For the record, I'm a big fan of what Dodge has been doing with the Challenger and Charger platform. It's just absolutely crazy. I love what they're throwing in those. Well, what didn't we get that was cool, and what would you look at importing anyways? Colin, toss some clips with some banger music in here, some Skylines, Sylvias, Type R's, Chasers, Soars, Cappuccinos, or whatever else the hell we didn't get here. I know, those are all JDM cars that we didn't get, and there was a ton of Euro cars that we didn't get here as well, like cool Escorts, AMGs, and M cars that are just super crazy rare for us here in the States. I'm just a big JDM fan, so those are what come to mind first. Also, the JDM cars seem to be the most requested cars and talked about cars when it comes to importing. I apologize to you Euro guys if I talk a lot about JDM cars in this one, but importing those is simply just more popular from what we've seen. I also had a Skyline brought over from Japan, so I can relate to this topic pretty darn well. I had someone bring it over for me and do all of the hard work that we're going to cover in just a little bit here. Bringing that car in back then was also a heck of a lot cheaper than it is right now. There are more cars to choose from in Japan than what we have available right now. You'll see how that's all important just a little bit later. So we've established that you're most likely importing a car because you want something that we just didn't get here in the United States. Now, what in the world goes into bringing a car into the United States now that you know you want one? It's a lot. I'm gonna be real. It's a lot. I don't know how else to say that. I'll keep this high level. There's guides out there on the internet that tell you how to do this and videos and all sorts of stuff, but I'm just gonna give you guys a general picture of what that looks like. First of all, you gotta find a dang car to bring over. Also, it's gotta be 25 years old or older, unless it's on the exemption list for show and display, but that's a whole nother topic you can Google and look at, but it's kind of crazy when you dig into it. Things have gotten easier over the years, but it's not as simple as hopping over to Facebook Marketplace Japan and finding cars. You're most likely going to be browsing auction sites to see what's coming through and what you'd like to bid on. You'll also need to familiarize yourself with how those auctions actually work and what in the world an auction sheet is and how to look at the grading and understand if a car has been modded or not, and if it has been modded, what mods have been done to it. Then there's a whole process of actually bidding on the car, transferring the money, and getting that car moved from the auction to a port. At that port, you have to get the car loaded onto a big boat and shipped from Japan to the USA if you're buying one in Japan. Hopefully that car works and drives, or you'll be paying a lot extra to have that car moved onto a boat and possibly by a forklift, which could damage some things. As a side note, if that car that you want has a body kit, you better pray it's handled with care. Otherwise, you might get really good at fiberglass repair when it comes over the United States and your side skirts are in like 4 different pieces. I've seen it, super sucks. Also, if you don't have someone who can get actual hands on the car that you inspect, say you're buying one in Japan, you'll be doing a bit of a gamble on what that car is actually like. You might be looking at an absolutely minty R32 Skyline that's from northern Japan, and on the outside, it looks pristine, like that car looks good. But underneath, it's gonna be Rust City. Once that boat makes it over to the United States, you'll have to figure out how to get that car out of the port and then shipped to wherever you are located. Dang, Sam, this sounds super simple. I had no idea it was this easy. Not so fast there. Each super oversimplified part of the process I mentioned has a ton of little details that can and absolutely will halt your progress if done wrong, or cost you a ton of more money and just take way longer than you ever imagined. Just trying to show up to a port and just grab a car is not that simple. There's a whole bunch of processes you have to go through. Also, you're going to need some pretty important paperwork, all of it done correctly here, in order to have your car federally legal. Every once in a while, some importer gets in hot water by falsifying documents or something along those lines, and people's cars are then at risk of getting crushed. There's really a lot to just finding a car you want to buy too, not to mention all the headaches you have to go through that process. But we're done talking about processes. Let's talk about the cars themselves. Skylines, Silvias, OG STIs, and whatever else we didn't get here are absolutely sick. No questions asked. Apparently, these are also the favorite cars of a ton of people. We as Americans have been importing a ton of these cars ever since the R32 honestly became legal. Those JDM Legends started becoming more and more popular and brought to the States in bigger and bigger numbers. That means it's also becoming harder and harder to find clean examples of those cars that you want still in Japan. The increased demand and reduced supply also means the prices on those cars have risen significantly, especially since I've got my Skyline. It's crazy what the prices have done. I also double majored in economics and marketing in college, so I love me some good supply and demand examples. They're super nerdy, super fun. The demand on these cars has also resulted in some kind of shady stuff happening to cars before they go for sale, such as less than stellar repairs and even inspections at the auction site that miss some pretty big issues with cars. A few YouTubers have covered this, but you really do have to be careful out there with what you're getting. Sounds like a bunch of doom and gloom, so let's talk about something happy. Since these cars have been imported to the States, it's actually created a pretty large market for these cars sold within the United States. Any major city that I looked at before doing this video, I searched for Skylines in these cities. Each one had examples of different Skylines at either really good price points and bad conditions or vice versa. They're all over the board. You can even find LS swapped R32s. It makes me want to throw up, but those are out there too. This means you can actually go out and look at these cars in person, just like any other used car that you're looking at buying. You should be able to even test drive those cars and see how it feels. You know, you might not have ever driven a right-hand drive car before, so that 180SX you're going to look at, you can actually experience what that's like, and you might like it, you might not, but you can actually find out for yourself. If you don't like it, there's something wrong with you and we can't be friends because those cars are absolutely killer. You can't just get a Carfax and see the entire car's history, but you can get a much better understanding of the car and its history in the US if you can talk to the owner and see it in person. Double check the records and paperwork on the car and how it was brought over, of course. Those are things you gotta do with anything that you're buying, spending that sort of money on. So, is it worth it to import a car? That's the question here, folks. Honestly, I'm gonna say no. It's not worth it to import a car, especially right now, but that's with two exceptions. Exception number one, if you're looking for something super specific and can't find what you're looking for in the United States, and you can only find it in Japan, kind of have no other choices. Exception number two, the model or chassis that you want just became legal to import and you want to be the coolest kid on the block with the first wave of cars and you're okay paying through the nose for that. But Sam, I want an R32 Skyline GTST because those are the coolest cars ever, even though Dakota thinks it's a fake GTR. You're saying I shouldn't get one because I'd have to import it? That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that importing the car isn't worth it right now. There's a lot to go through. Shipping is crazy right now and the costs are super high. You can also and should absolutely get a right-hand drive JDM Legend or whatever legend you want from some other country if you have the funds and want one. What I am saying is that you should try to find one already in the United States. There are a ton of these cars floating around, especially compared to just 2 or 3 years ago with what's been brought into the States. I'd say go to somewhere like Top Rank Importers. They bring over some absolute gems, and if you want a really good experience, go through someone like them. They've done all of that work to get the cars over here that I've previously mentioned you'd have to go through. Shout out to Brian from Top Rank. He has some absolutely killer taste in cars and in mods. Facebook groups are another awesome place to find these cars already imported to the States that you can see in person. Like I said, look at it like any other used car, inspect them before buying them. There are also some really good right-hand drive or chassis specific groups out there for you to find some deals. Also, a lot of the cars that have been brought over to the United States, they've experienced some sort of issue once they've started being driven or driven hard in the United States, and those owners went through the process to get those things fixed, so you could be getting a more problem-free experience than something that's just hitting our shores for the first time and has a bunch of unknowns with it. So, in my opinion, it's not worth it to import a car right now. Find one that's here already if you can, would be my recommendation. Honestly, if you have a question, just hit me up, slide in those DMs, and I'll help you guys out. I have a ton of people asking about that already, and it's super fun to talk about. If you absolutely do need to bring a car over here though, and there's something that you just can't find here in the United States, there are places that will help you find what you're looking for and do that work for you. I'd recommend doing that over the whole DIY experience with something like importing a car. All right, I'm Sam. I appreciate you guys for watching. Peace.